Welcome, everyone. We're diving deep today into something pretty crucial, the future of university education in this crazy digital age we're living in.
It's definitely a hot topic right now.
We've got reports, academic papers, even some insights from universities themselves, all trying to figure out how tech is changing higher education, and most importantly, what it means for all of you out there learning and growing.
We're in the middle of a huge shift in higher ed, and it's important to really break down what's happening.
Okay, so let's jump right in here with a stat that really blew my mind. It comes from a World Economic Forum report. They found that a whopping 96% of university leaders think they're doing a great job preparing students for the workforce.
Wow.
But here's the catch. Less than half the students and only 11% of business leaders actually agree.
Yeah, that's a pretty big difference, isn't it? It says a lot about how out of touch academia can be sometimes with what's really needed in today's job market.
Absolutely. So the big question is, why is there such a gap? And how does it affect students who are, working so hard to get ready for their careers?
Well, one of the main culprits here is technology. It's changing so fast that the skills that were in high demand even just a few years ago might be totally useless now.
That's true.
A lot of universities are struggling to keep up, so what they're teaching just doesn't match what employers are actually looking for.
So basically, universities can't just focus on teaching today's tech skills. They need to teach students how to adapt and pick up new skills throughout their entire careers.
Exactly.
So what specific skills should universities be focusing on in this ever-changing world?
The World Economic Forum calls them enduring skills. These are skills that are useful across all kinds of industries and can be applied to different jobs. Things like critical thinking, problem-solving, communication, and collaboration.
Those sound pretty essential.
They are. They let people analyze information, adapt to new situations, work well with others, no matter what their specific job is.
Makes sense. In a world where tech is always shaking things up, being able to think critically and roll with the punches is way more valuable than any specific tech skill that could be outdated tomorrow.
I agree.
So how can universities actually teach these enduring skills to their students?
It takes a change in how they teach, moving away from the old school lecture style and towards more interactive and hands-on learning. Things like project-based learning, group assignments, and actually applying what they've learned to real-world problems.
So it's not just about what you teach, but how you teach it. Sitting in a lecture hall and passively absorbing information isn't cutting it anymore for today's complex job market.
Right. Universities need to create learning environments that encourage active participation, critical thinking, and collaborative problem solving.
Now, what about the role of technology in all of this? We saw online learning explode during the pandemic, but is that the answer to these challenges, or does it come with its own set of problems?
Well, the Digital Education Action Plan from the European Commission found something pretty interesting. Back in 2018, less than 40% of educators across the entire EU felt prepared to use digital technologies for teaching.
Seriously.
Yeah, so when the pandemic hit, there was a mad scramble to shift everything online. And it wasn't always pretty.
That's a shocking statistic. It seems like even before the pandemic sped things up, there was a huge gap between the potential of digital tech in education and how it was actually being used.
Absolutely. The pandemic really exposed the flaws of just taking traditional teaching methods and dumping them online. It became clear that we need a smarter, more intentional approach to using technology in education, one that takes advantage of its strengths and addresses its weaknesses.
So it's not just about throwing lectures online. It's about completely rethinking how we learn using digital tools and platforms to create engaging, interactive, and personalized learning experiences.
You got it. And that requires more than just technical skills from educators. They need to understand how people actually learn in online environments and how to design effective online learning experiences.
And let's not forget about the students themselves. What about their expectations and what they need in this new learning landscape?
Today's learners grew up with technology. They expect instant access to information, personalized experiences, and interactive learning. Universities need to adapt to those expectations if they want to stay relevant and engaging for this new generation.
It all leads to a crucial question. What are the actual benefits and drawbacks of this digital shift for learners? Is online learning a magical solution, like some people claim? Or are there serious downsides that need to be addressed? Let's keep exploring this as we continue our deep dive.
So yeah, diving into those benefits and drawbacks of the whole digital shift in education. Let's start with the good stuff. Online learning is super flexible.
Definitely.
You can learn from anywhere in the world at your own pace, make it fit into your life. It opens things up for people who couldn't go to a traditional university, maybe because of where they live or work commitments or other things holding them back.
Yeah, that accessibility is huge,
Yeah.
especially with more and more people wanting to upskill or reskill during their careers. It turns education into a lifelong thing instead of just something you do for a few years.
Exactly. And it can often be more affordable than traditional education, too. Think about it. No commuting costs, no living on campus, and tuition at a lot of universities is just skyrocketing.
Makes sense? So it's about making education more democratic, accessible, and affordable for everyone. But what about the quality of online learning? Is it really as good as being in a classroom?
That's where it gets tricky. We have these amazing online learning platforms now, really sophisticated, but the quality can vary a lot. You can't just take a lecture and put it online. Effective online learning needs careful planning, using interactive elements, multimedia, and chances for collaboration and engagement.
So the technology itself isn't enough. It's about using it to create real learning experiences. Are there any warning signs learners should watch out for when they're looking at online options?
Absolutely. The credibility of the provider is key. Is it a well-known institution or organization with a good reputation in education? Look for accreditation testimonials from other students and info about the instructors, their qualifications and experience.
Like doing your due diligence. It's using those critical thinking skills we talked about to choose online learning programs.
Exactly. Don't fall for flashy marketing or promises that sound too good to be true.
Yeah.
Do your research, pick programs that match your goals, and have a clear structure and approach.
Now, what about the digital equity issue we touched on earlier? Not everyone has access to technology or good internet. How do we make sure this shift to digital doesn't make existing inequalities even worse?
That's a critical issue, and it needs a multi-pronged approach. We have to invest in infrastructure to bridge the digital divide, make sure everyone has reliable internet and devices. We also need to create support systems for learners facing extra challenges, people from low-income backgrounds or those with disabilities.
Right. It's recognizing that technology can be a powerful tool for inclusion, but only if we actively address the systemic barriers that are preventing some people from benefiting from it.
Exactly. We have to make sure the shift to digital education is truly equitable and empowers all learners no matter their background or circumstances.
And another common concern with online learning is that it can be isolating. You miss that face-to-face interaction. So how do we foster a sense of community and connection when everything's virtual?
The instructor's role becomes even more important. They have to create opportunities for students to connect, whether it's through online forums, group projects, or virtual office hours.
So it's about using tech to encourage connection, not just deliver content. Are there specific strategies or tools instructors can use to build these online learning communities?
Definitely. You've got interactive platforms for real-time discussions, collaborative document editing, even virtual social events. These can help online learners feel like they belong and are working towards something together.
And it's not just student-to-student interaction. That feeling of being guided and supported by the instructor can make all the difference in online learning.
Totally. I agree. Regular communication, personalized feedback, and going the extra mile to help learners are so important for creating a positive and engaging online environment.
So we read this blog post titled "The Future of the University: A Proposal for a Digital Research University." And it had a pretty interesting take on what higher ed could look like down the road.
It definitely gives you something to think about how universities can use technology not just for teaching, but also to become centers for cutting-edge research and innovation.
The author says traditional academic disciplines need to adapt and embrace the interdisciplinary nature of digital research. They suggest creating digital schools within universities, focused on things like artificial intelligence, data science, digital humanities, and the ethics of technology.
That's a fascinating concept, bringing experts from different fields together to work on research projects, share knowledge, and train the next generation of digital innovators.
And the blog post also stressed how important it is to give students the skills to navigate this increasingly complex digital world. They call for a renewed focus on digital literacy, critical thinking, and being able to analyze and interpret data.
Those are in-demand skills across all industries. It's not just about being tech savvy, it's about thinking critically about how tech affects our lives and using it ethically and responsibly.
So we're preparing students not just for specific jobs, but for a world that's always in flux, where being able to adapt, learn new skills, and solve problems will be essential.
Exactly. It's about nurturing a lifelong learning mindset where people can constantly update their knowledge and skills to thrive in a rapidly changing world.
That brings us back to a fundamental question we asked earlier. What does all this mean for you, the learner?
Mhm.
How can you make your way through this changing landscape and make sure you have the skills and knowledge you need to succeed?
That's something we'll dig into deeper as we continue our exploration.
So we've talked a lot about the future of university education in this digital world we're living in. We've looked at the challenges for traditional universities, the ups and downs of online learning, and even imagined what a fully digital university could be. But now as we wrap up this deep dive, the big question is, what does all this mean for you, the learner?
It's easy to feel overwhelmed with everything changing so fast and all the information coming at us. But instead of getting stuck, we need to realize we have the power to shape how we learn and help education evolve.
So being proactive, taking charge of our own learning. Where do we even start?
Mm.
What can learners actually do to navigate this crazy landscape and make sure they have what they need to succeed?
One important thing is to be a smart consumer of information. We're flooded with data from everywhere, so you need to be able to filter it, evaluate it, and put it all together. That means questioning sources, thinking about biases, and looking for different perspectives so you can form your own opinions.
It's about being more than just a passive sponge. You have to be critical and analytical about what you're learning. And that's not just for school. It's for everything in this digital world.
Absolutely. Those skills can be used anywhere. The ability to think critically, evaluate information, and communicate effectively, those are essential for any job and for being an informed citizen in a democracy.
Another key takeaway is the importance of lifelong learning. It's not enough to learn a few things and call it a day. With tech changing so fast, we have to keep adapting, learning new things, and staying ahead of the game.
It sounds like a lot, but it's also exciting. It means you can grow both personally and professionally. Lifelong learning can be anything from taking courses online to just exploring on your own through books, podcasts, online resources. The important thing is to be curious and keep wanting to learn new things.
I love that. It's seeing learning as an ongoing journey. You're always discovering and growing, and it's something we can all do no matter how old we are, what our background is, or what we do for a living.
You got it. Learning isn't just about stuffing your head with facts. It's about broadening your horizons, challenging what you think you know, and becoming a more well-rounded person. It's about having a growth mindset, seeing challenges as chances to learn and improve.
And that connects back to those enduring skills we talked about. Critical thinking, problem solving, communication, collaboration. Those will always be important no matter how tech changes or what new jobs pop up.
Those skills are what make you adaptable and resilient in a world that's constantly changing. They help you deal with uncertainty, solve tough problems, and work well with others to achieve something together.
So even though we can't predict the future, we can definitely prepare ourselves by developing those timeless skills and being lifelong learners.
And remember, you're not alone in this. We're all in this together. Learners, educators, innovators, we're all shaping the future of education.
It's about working together, sharing what we know, and supporting each other as we figure out this exciting and ever-changing world. We can all help create an education system that's more equitable, engaging, and effective for ourselves and for future generations.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, think about your own learning journey. What skills do you want to learn? What knowledge do you want to gain? What can you do today to take advantage of lifelong learning and help shape the future of education?
The future isn't something that just happens to us. We create it. Embrace the possibilities, challenge the way things are, and never stop learning. Thanks for joining us on this journey.